If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and another sewing tutorial. Today I am happy to sew along with you the How You Doing bowler bag by Sincerely Jen. Now this one I have modified slightly as I have made it into a bound finish rather than a drop-in lining. Drop-in linings, as we all know, are my weak point. I really should practice them more. They're my kryptonite. But to get around that, I did this as a bound bag. Let me show you some of the amazing features of this bag. So you have these really nice decorative overlays, handle connectors. Now she does her handle connectors a little bit different than I do, but I'll get into that. I added purse feet into this one, double zipper pull with a zipper that goes a huge way around the bag, which is amazing because then it opens up so nice and big. So I did my standard slip pocket and zipper pocket like I do in all my bags, so my linings aren't exactly the same as the pattern because of how I always do all of my linings. Talking about things I did different in this bag. Again, I bound it, I added purse feet in, and for my connectors, she has this really nice way, if you do not like a raw edge connector, of folding in your vinyl or woven material to enclose those raw edges. I just left mine raw, and I show you how I do that in the tutorial because you know me, I love to edge paint. So I don't know if you can see the nice edge paint I have around those. Besides that and the binding and the lining, I don't think I did too much different with this. So again, the tutorial does stray away from the pattern because I show you how to modify it into a bound bag. Now this one is also the Tuesday, March 2024 classes. So if you need a slowed down version on how to make this in a bound version, you can definitely check out the membership side and check this out, depending when you're watching this, because this tutorial will be exclusive to the members until the end of the classes, but it is available to the lowest tier of the Beans Beats Club if you wanted to check out those tutorials that get released early to the membership side. Anyways, I'm getting all over the place here. Let's talk about the guts of this bag. This amazing kitty cat vinyl is from Emmeline Bags. This gray vinyl, I don't know where I got it from. I'm pretty sure I got it from Fabricland 4 years ago. Feeling it, I can tell it's a very heavy grade marine vinyl, and I definitely did feel it in these corners. So do not use a super duper heavy marine vinyl to do the bowler bag, especially if you are on a domestic machine that is sensitive to thicknesses. So yeah, if I had used something that was like 0.7 millimeter or less, that would be fine, which is your typical vinyls that you can buy everywhere. This one was just one of those off whatever vinyls that I got. My zippers are from Blue Cala. My zipper pulls, they're little kitty cat ones. I believe I got those from RC Threadcraft. I'm not 100% sure. All of my other hardware is from Emmeline Bags. My Giardinin edge paint is from Emmeline Bags. My lining is something I picked up from Fabricland. I don't know what it's called. Yeah, oh, interfacings in this bag. Now I would actually, for the class bag and for the next bag, I think I'll do my interfacings differently. In this one I did as per the pattern with foam, so I do show you in this tutorial how to do it with foam, and I give you a trick on how to take some of the bulk out of those seams with the foam. I think for my next one I may use EBFuse Heavy, which is similar to a Decovil Light, and cut my pattern or cut those interfacings a ½ inch outside of those seam allowances and give that a try. I just think it would be a lot easier to take away some of that bulk from these seams that happen when using foam. So yeah, that's what I would do differently. It works fabulously with foam. It gives it really good structure with foam, but if you are worried about thicknesses in these seams, especially where we have our joins right here, maybe give Decovil Light or EBFuse Heavy a go, but make sure you have it cut at least a ½ inch out of the seam allowances all the way around for all pieces. My cotton lining pieces I backed with EBFuse Light. That's also from Emmeline Bags, and it's similar to an SF101 or a medium woven interfacing. Besides that, that's really all that goes into this. This is such a fast and satisfying sew. I don't know why it took me so long to do it. I just love it. This will not be the last one that I make. Anyways, if during this tutorial you do find it useful, please do give me a thumbs up and shoot me a comment down below. But for now, how about we get to making this bag?
So you're gonna need some rivets, number 5 zipper tape, some binding, 4 rectangle rings, 3 number 5 zipper pulls, optional strap-ins, optional purse feet, and your nameplate. So these are pattern piece changes if you're doing a bound finish like I'm doing. So you will not need this pattern piece B. What you'll do instead is cut 2 exterior and 2 lining from pattern piece A. You will cut your bottom stabilizer pieces slightly smaller as per what I just put on the screen. I decided I'm going to edge paint my connector overlays. So what I did was I just cut the center out of the pattern piece, but definitely you can do them the way it is in the pattern. You're going to need some foam or EBFuse Heavy Decovil Light if you prefer. Again, pattern piece A, 2 exterior, 2 lining. Your bottom pieces with your Decovil Heavy outside of the seam allowances on your exterior, and then your lining piece as well. Your zipper pocket pieces, 2 handles, your slip pocket piece, your 4 connector overlay pieces, your 2 sets of corner overlays. These pieces are mirrored to one another. Your 4 connector pieces, your bottom side gusset pieces, your 2 exterior and 2 lining, your main panels, 2 exterior, 2 lining. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do my handles off camera. If you need a class on how to do that, I do have that down below in the description. Okay, so now I am adding purse feet on. Now this is not part of the pattern. I just decided I wanted to add them in. So I am putting these on from each corner, 2 inches in, 1.5 inches up, and then 1 straight in the center. Once you have those all marked out, go ahead and install those as per your manufacturer's instructions. And if you need a class on how to do that, I do have that down below in the description. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Now we're going to take these side gusset pieces, and so you're going to match up the longer sides with the short sides of the bottom pieces. Clip them in place. You will do this exact same thing with the lining. Again, the longer side of the side gusset pieces match up with the short sides of the bottom. Go ahead and sew through that with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Flip them over so the seam is facing towards the bottom of the bag, and top stitch that seam in place through the bottom. Repeat with the lining pieces as well, except you do not need to top stitch them, as we will just press those seams open. This is both the lining and the exterior done. You can see my seams are pointing to the bottom, and on my lining I just have pressed my seams open. Main lining and exterior pieces, we need to round these corners a little. Now this is not a perfect art. I'm just using a bobbin here to kind of round those corners. What I'm doing here is just not quite enough for those rounded corners, but when we go to put this on later, we can definitely trim them up at that point in time. But we just definitely do not want these sharp corners in the corners. So go ahead and round these up on all 4 pieces. Now, if you're using foam, follow along here. You can see how I've cut my foam just slightly bigger than my pattern pieces here. Go ahead and baste these to the foam. Now, why we do it just that little bit bigger is so we can pull that foam nice and tight against that base stitch, and we can trim, put our scissors kind of on an angle like you see I'm doing here, and it just makes that foam a lot less bulky for when we go to sew this together. So go ahead and trim the foam there. Now we're going to take our zipper panel pieces and we're going to measure a 1/2 inch in from the long straight edge. Again, this is only if you are using foam. On the wrong side, do that on both. And what we're doing here is we're just making a line because we are going to want to have that foam outside of the seam allowance here once we've basted it on. Now I've already gone and cut my foam, again, bigger than my piece. And on the right side from that straight edge, I'm going to measure down a 1/2 inch and make a mark on each side. And then I'm only going to baste between those marks, leaving that top edge unbasted. So with that top edge unbasted, we can fold the foam back like so and use that line that we drew on the back to cut back about a 1/2 inch of the foam from that top straight edge. And this will just keep the bulk away from when we are doing our zipper panel, then we don't have all that bulk around our zipper tape. Once you've done that, what I like to do is just take some double-sided tape along that straight edge, put it along that side of that line, so I can press that loose edge of the foam down upon that so it's not flopping everywhere. Once you have that in place, trim the rest of the foam away just like we did on the other pieces to reduce that bulk on the other 3 sides. Now we have our lining and our exterior pieces. Now I always cut my zipper tape extra long so I can pull my zipper pulls out of the way, and I just put a clip on the end to make sure they don't fly away. I'm going to go ahead and use some double-sided tape. You can definitely use clips here if you prefer. Along that straight edge on the right side of my exterior piece, I'm going to put some tape. Again, you can use clips. I'm going to do the exact same thing with one of my lining zipper panel pieces along that straight edge on the right side. And then I'm going to take my lining piece right side up and my zipper tape right side up, and I am going to stick my zipper tape along that top straight edge. Again, it is extra long because I like to have my zipper pulls hanging over the edge so they don't get in the way when we are sewing this together. Now you're going to take your exterior piece, put it right sides together with this, lining up the lining and the exterior, stick or clip it in place, making sure everything lines up. And then we're going to put on our zipper foot, and we are going to sew across here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. That's done, what we want to do is we want to push these pieces wrong sides together. You can definitely finger press it, take it to an iron if you're using materials that won't melt. I like to use double-sided tape because I just love this stuff so much, to push this nice and taut away from my zipper teeth, like so. And flip it over and do the same with my lining piece. Again, know the limitations and sensitivities of your machine, whether double-sided tape is an option for you. I'm on an industrial, so I have absolutely no issues sewing through it. Bring these wrong sides together, again making sure the lining is free and clear, and press nice and tight away from those zipper teeth. And then along the raw edges, I'm just going to clip them in place to prepare for basting along the raw edges and top stitching along the zipper. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and baste those 3 raw edges and top stitch along the zipper. that's done, you're going to go ahead and do the exact same thing with the other 2 zipper panel pieces and the other side of the zipper. So that's what that looks like finished. You can now go ahead and pull your zipper pulls into the center and trim up your zipper tape to match the sides of our zipper panel. I'm just trimming some of my lining that's overhanging here. We want these to be the same size. Okay, so now we're going to take our bottom and gusset piece that we had already prepped before. We're going to put it right sides together along those short edges of the gusset pieces and the zipper panel for the exterior. So the exteriors are right sides together. And we're also going to take the lining side, add it right sides together with the lining side, add it into those clips. And then we're going to go sew through here with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, bring those wrong sides together and top stitch through the gusset piece with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance to hold that seam in place. Now that that's done, we're going to kind of do the same thing with the opposite side. It's just a little more awkward. Open up your zipper most of the way. Bring your exteriors right sides together. They should line up perfectly. And then bring the linings right sides together. And it's going to kind of look like a loopy mess, but this is what we want, just like so. And then we're going to sew through this with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to pull the best we can our lining and exteriors wrong sides together and top stitch through the seam just like we did with the other side. Once that's done, you want to go ahead and flip those bottom gusset pieces wrong sides together. And then we're going to match up the raw edges of those. They should be the same size and kind of give it a tug to make sure everything is nice and taut. And then clip these in place to prepare for basting so everything is one continuous piece. Go ahead and baste both sides with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so this is what we got. Now we want to find our top and bottom centers. So we're going to match up those seams on the sides, pull it nice and tight, do a small snip or mark for the top center and the bottom center, flip it over and do the exact same thing with the other side. And then you can set this aside for now. Now we're going to work with our corner overlays. So you want to take your main exterior pieces and find your top and bottom centers. Okay, now we're going to take our pieces and you want to make sure you are putting them right. So the longer straight edge is what's going to be along the bottom. Now I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape on the bottom like so. And then I'm going to stick it down. Now we did not round the corners of this. What we can do now is just trim it once we've matched the side and the bottom so it follows the same line. Go ahead and do that with all 4 corners. Now we're going to go ahead and top stitch along the curvy part and baste the 2 straight edges for all 4 corners. That's what those look like done, just like so. Now we're going to take our 4 connector pieces. I've already drawn my center line down the middle. I'm going to use some double-sided tape. You could definitely use clips here if you prefer. And I'm going to fold the long edges into that center line. And then I'm going to take these to the machine and top stitch with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance down those folded sides for all 4. Now I'm going to put on the wrong side of the bottom of one of these is some double-sided tape. And then I'm going to take my rectangle ring, slide it on, and then bring my connector wrong sides together like so. And then on the back side again, just put another small piece of double-sided tape, repeat with the other 3. Now I've gone and I've cut out on my pattern piece the placement for our connector overlay. So you want to trace that onto the right side of your main exterior pieces with a erasable pen. Once you have that, you're going to do the same thing. You'll just flip the pattern piece over to mirror it on the opposite side. And then once you've done that, you're going to take a ruler, nice and centered, and from the top line of where we just drew, we want to measure down 3/4 of an inch. Also mark a center line just so it's easier to place our connector. Do the same with the opposite side, 3/4 of an inch down from that top line we drew for our placement. Take your connector and line it up with that 3/4 of an inch line, nice and centered, and then go ahead and just baste that bottom on. Now that we've done that, we're going to take our overlays, and I've already gone and put some double-sided tape on the back, and we're just going to use those lines that we drew for placement and stick it down, and then go ahead and top stitch these in place all the way around. Now I am pulling my threads long to tie these off in the back to have a nice and seamless top stitch. If you don't do this, please do make sure you back stitch really well at start and stop of your stitching. Now that that's done, all of our connectors in place, I've also gone ahead and put in some rivets backed with some scraps of Decovil Heavy and my nameplate on the bottom 2 inches up. Now I've already gone ahead and done my lining pieces. I did these different than the pattern. This is how I do them in all my bags. If you need a class on how I do them, down below in the description. Now we're going to take our exterior front panel, and I like my slip pocket to be on the back of my front panel. We're going to put these wrong sides together and clip them in place. Once we have these clipped in place, you can go ahead and baste them together with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all the way around and do the same for the back panels. So this is what it looks like here. Now I'm going to take my front panel and our finished gusset zipper panel here. I'm going to line up my bottom centers, put a few clips to hold those in place. So these are right sides together. Line up your top centers. Make sure your hardware is folded down and out of the way. And then we're going to do our quarter sections, and I found that where our side gusset and those overlays sit, they make wonderful quarter sections to match up. So I'm matching those two things up for my quarter sections. And then I'm going to evenly distribute the fabric in between those quarter sections. Now what you're going to notice as we come around the corners that our gusset does not want to go all the way around the corners because it is a straight piece and we want to make it round. So we're going to go as far as we can before it starts pulling away and we can't bring the raw edges together. When that starts happening, like here in the gusset piece, go ahead and put in 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch snips like I'm doing here. Don't go past 3/8, and that helps spread the fabric around the curve as you can see here. Now the next challenge in modifying this pattern was because we needed to round those bottom corners. So you're going to see as we come around, even with that little bit that we rounded off, it's still not going to want to come around with a little bit of snipping. So we're going to make it come around the best we can. And any excess overhang, you'll see that the gusset will form kind of a rounded edge, but there's some overlay. So we're going, or overhang, and we're just going to trim that off. I had to do that. It was equal on all corners, and it ended up being about 1/4 of an inch or so that we ended up trimming away just on those bottom corners. But as long as it's consistent on all 4 corners, it'll be fine. So again, I'm doing it on this corner as well, cutting my little snips in, making it come around the best I can. And again, it was about 1/4 of an inch that I had to snip away here. So I'm just going to go ahead, eyeball that, and bring it around. And again, as long as they're somewhat even, your bag will be symmetrical. Once we have everything clipped in place, you're going to go ahead and sew around here with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that's a different seam allowance than the pattern. Just go with the 3/8. It'll be a lot easier for your binding to fit around. Once you have that done, feel around the seam, make sure everything was caught. If so, go ahead and do the same with the opposite side. Now it's time to bind it. So bind this with your chosen method. I'm going to go ahead and use some bias tape. If you need a class for that, it's down below in the description. Okay, so that is all bound. Now when I went to turn this out, I realized that maybe next time I want to try this with EBFuse Heavy or Decovil Light to keep it out of those bottom seams, because they were really thick and I took a lot of massaging to get those bottom corners nice and rounded and crisp. But yeah, I did manage to do it. I did use a thicker vinyl, which didn't help the situation at all here, but with a little bit of massaging around those corners, it was fine. The foam does give it an incredible structure and great stand-up ability. So go ahead and massage all of those seams, poke them all out good, especially around these corners here. As you see, as I massage them, they do get better. I'm going to go ahead and massage them a little bit more off camera, as well as put on my handles. As you see, with a little bit of love, my corners ended up looking great. My handles are on, and would you believe it? We are done. And look how nice and tight that lining is. I just love doing this bag with a bound finish. Pat yourself on the back, and we're done.
All right, that's it. That's all. What'd you think of that? It is a lot of fun as a bound bag. It goes together super fast. So I truly hope you did like this tutorial. Again, if you'd like a slowed down version of making this bag in real time, you can definitely check out the membership side of the channel where we did this on the Tuesday, March 2024 classes. Yeah, there's lots of great stuff on the membership side to check out. Take a peek. Maybe there's something that interests you. Anyways, if you haven't already, please do like this video. Shoot me a comment if you haven't already. Please do subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel further, you could always buy me a coffee. That's all linked down below in the description. And until the next one, I'll catch you guys again. Bye!